something had his heart in its grip and squeezed tight, and he woke up sweating and worried with a feeling of doom upon him. And because of his gift, his magic, he was worried. And he went to his father's hall. He went to Odin and his mother Frigg, and he told them of his dream, and they could see the doom hanging around him. And Balder, who was always bright, was not. We'll see what we can do, so they said. Try not to worry. We have many things we can try. And Balder went off a little more relieved, but still the air of doom hanging about him. His usual brightness, his usual happiness dimmed. Well, Frigg, who was goddess of clouds, who spins the clouds on her spinning wheel, whose robes reflect the colour of the sky. When she is happy, her robes are blue and the sky is blue. When she is troubled, the skies are troubled and grey, as is her robe. She is also goddess of household and home, goddess of the hearth. She sat and she thought about what she could do, and she had an idea. She gathered her servants around her and she said, "Go out, go across all of Asgard, all of Midgard, and I want you to ask a vow from every single being, every single creature, every single thing, that they will never harm my son Balder." No sooner said than done. The messengers left the hall quick as lightning, and everywhere they went they said to people, "Do you promise never to harm Frigg's son Balder the Bright?" And each person they met said, "Yes, I promise, I will never harm Balder the Bright." They asked the sky, they asked the stars, they asked the fire, the wood, the trees. They asked every single bird, every plant, every blade of grass, every brook, every stream, every ocean, every single thing, every person on the earth, every tiny crawling creature, and each and everything said, "Yes, I swear, I will never harm Balder the Bright." Each and every metal they asked, each and every type of stone. And finally they all returned to Frigg's hall and reported that everything in Asgard and Midgard had sworn never to harm her son. And Frigg was pleased. And then one messenger spoke up. It said, "Well, everything except one thing. Your graciousness. Well, there's this plant, a parasite really. It has no roots. It can't survive on its own. It lives off the great oak by the great hall in Valhalla. Mistletoe, it's called. A silly little plant. I asked it to swear the oath, and I don't think it really understood, and because it's such a pitiful thing, surely it does not matter." And Frigg said, "No, I think you're right, that's fine. Such a thing as that could never harm my son Balder." And then she was happy. She went to break the news to her son. Odin, meanwhile, had set about his own task. At the very height of Asgard there is a tower, and on that tower there is a seat, Odin's seat, his high nest. And from that place he can look out across all 9 worlds and see everything that happens there. And each morning 2 ravens, one called Thought, one called Memory, fly out from Odin's high nest, fly out across all the worlds, and every dusk they return to that place and whisper in his ears what they have seen and heard that day. And it was there that Odin went. But the only relevant news he cast his gaze with his one eye across all 9 worlds, and it was as if a fog, a pearly mist, swirled everywhere but one place. Far, far away in hell's realm, in the land of the dead, a small grassy knoll was bright and sharp and clear, and as he looked at it, Odin knew that that was where he needed to go, and he recognised it as the final resting place of a great prophetess, a seeress, a Vala. Odin put on his blue travelling cloak. Odin put on his wide-brimmed hat and pulled it low over his head. Odin whistled to his horse, Selknir, the 8-legged beast of great strength and swiftness, who was, we believe, the mother of Loki's children, from another portion of mischief I haven't told you of. He got upon Selknir's back and he galloped out of Asgard, past Heimdall, who guards the Rainbow Bridge, over the Rainbow Bridge and down into this world, into Midgard. Odin rode on, and wherever he went, people hid and cowered away, lest Odin be looking for souls to take to Valhalla. On he rode for 3 days and 3 nights, until finally he came to Hell's realm. The great wall was there, and Gram, the great hellhound that guards its gates, and Odin threw a spear at Gram, and leapt up on Selknir, over its snapping jaws, the hooves leaping over the wall and thundering down on the other side, and he rode on. And in the distance he saw Hell's feasting halls, preparing for a great feast, a noble guest. But he didn't pay it attention, he rode on. He rode past Hell's harbour, wherein they build a great ship to sail out across the world's seas on the final day of Ragnarok. A ship built of the trimmings of dead man's nails, which is why all Viking men and women and children too kept their nails short, so the ship would be all the longer in the building. But Odin didn't check to see how their progress was going. He rode on. On and on he rode through Hell's realm until finally he came near to the place, the grassy knoll, where the Vala rested. Some way off he left his horse, because no matter how good his disguise, an 8-legged horse is something of a giveaway, and nobody else had one. Then he approached the grassy knoll. And maybe you're wondering why it is that every other soul in the land of the dead walked around as you and I did. Admittedly ghosts of their former selves, but still they lived in some form or another. But the Vala, she slept in that grassy knoll. And maybe if I told you that in her life she turned her head one way, she could see right back to the very, very beginnings of time, to the great gulf, the void, with the land of fire on one side, the land of frost and ice the other, that she could see the birth of the goddess, of the giant Vimir, see the birth of Odin himself, see all things that happened in between to the present moment. But if she turned her head the other way, she could see right to the end of days, to Ragnarok, to the final battle, the destruction of the world, in flame and fire and death and blood, and see every single thing that happened in between, as if it was happening now. Then maybe you'd understand why in death began to hum and chant. He began to move, he began to spin and turn and dance. And in his spinning, his dancing and his chanting, there was power and there was magic and there was passion. And then a green mist began to grow over that grassy knoll. And green mist condensed into the form of a woman. And the woman looked at the man who had summoned her and said, "Who calls me from sleep?" And Odin said, "It is I, Vegetrum, son of Wanderer, and I wish to ask you 3 questions." "Speak," said the Vala. "My first question is this. Who does Hel prepare her feast hall for?" "The Balder of Night." "My second question is this. Who will avenge Balder's death?" "There is a cave, and in that cave, Odin will sleep with the earth goddess. They will beget a son, and when he is grown, he will kill Balder's kill." "And what word will Odin whisper in Balder's ear at his funeral pyre?" And then the shade, the woman's form, crystallised. In a fierce moment she looked straight at Odin and she said, "You are Odin, only he knows that. I will speak no more." And then she disappeared into the moment. And Odin's heart was troubled. It was heavy. He went back to his horse, Seltnir, and it took him 5 days and 5 nights to ride back to Asgard once more, because his heart was heavy and his news was bad. But when he got home, he was surprised to see such happiness, such joy everywhere. And his wife Frigg was coming towards him and she said, "Oh, you've been gone so long, you've missed all the fun. Oh, my husband, I'm so pleased. Every single thing in heaven and earth has promised never to harm our son Balder, and come and see what games and fun we are having." And Odin, mystified, followed her, and he went to the peace stead, and there was Balder the Bright, standing in the middle, and all around him all the gods were, with all manner of things, were taking turns to throw weapons at Balder. Spears, knives, swords, all manner of things. They blew fire at him, they threw deluges of water at him, and every single thing veered suddenly to the left or the right, or stopped dead in its tracks, and nothing touched or harmed Balder, who stood bright and shining and laughing in the mist. And with that, Odin's heart was somewhat eased. And he thought maybe he was putting too much store by the word of a dead prophetess. And watching from the sidelines was Loki. He who had once charmed all the gods. He who had once been bright and beautiful, albeit in a different way. He who now bore scars on his lips that made his smile seem wicked, was jealous. Why should Balder have all this protection? Why should Balder have all this love? Why should Balder have all the attention? And he set his mind to ruining it. He went a little way off, and his shape shifted into the form of an old woman. And then he hobbled up to Frigg's hall, and he begged water and food. And she, so full of joy in her son and his life, saw no harm in the old woman and welcomed her in. She gave her food, she gave her water, and when the old woman said, "I've just seen a very curious thing, I can't make it out at all. There's a young man out there, and they're throwing weapons, but nothing harms him. What is the meaning of this? And Frigg says, oh, that's my son Balder. Everything in heaven and earth has promised not to harm him, and so we're making a game of it, really, I suppose. Ah, said the old woman. Everything? Well, everything apart from the mistletoe that grows at the top of the oak tree next to Valhalla Hall, said Frigg, still not realising quite who she was dealing with. Oh, yes, well, such a thing as that can harm anyone, said Loki, disguised as the old woman, and then he hobbled away. And no sooner out of sight than he shape-shifted again into a raven and flew to the oak tree that grows by Valhalla Hall and plucked from the mistletoe a single small twig, flew to the ground and changed once more into his own form, and then he began to work his magic on that tiny little twig. It grew and 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 it grew until it was a great staff, and then Loki, he sharpened the end until it was a fine, sharp point. He waved the spear of mistletoe in his hands, and he smiled his wicked smile. And then he went to the place where the gods played their game, and he looked around and he saw Hodder listening to it all, slightly aside in the shadows. And Loki approached him, and in a different voice he said, why do you not do honour to your brother? Why do you not join in? Alas, said Hodder, for I am blind, and I might hit somebody else, and then they would really be dead. Oh, said Loki, or perhaps I could